Have you ever noticed how the more desperately you want something, the further it seems to run away? Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher, discovered a secret. True power comes not from chasing, but from letting go. Today, I'll show you how relaxing, trusting, and living with Stoic wisdom can bring everything you desire. Naturally. Imagine this. You're holding a butterfly in your hands. The tighter you close your fist, the more likely you are to crush its delicate wings. But when you open your palm, the butterfly might choose to rest there. This is the paradox of life and desire. The harder you chase, the further it slips away. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome, faced this same dilemma 2,000 years ago. He led armies, ruled over millions, and yet he discovered a universal truth. Peace comes when you stop obsessing over outcomes. His timeless words echo, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will go on well." Today, let's explore how this principle, detachment from outcome, can transform not just how you pursue goals, but how you experience life itself. Modern psychology backs what Marcus saw. Studies in the Journal of Positive Psychology show that people who focus excessively on results report 30% higher stress and 25% lower well-being, lower satisfaction compared to those who emphasize process and effort. Why? Because outcomes are uncertain, external, and often beyond our control. Think about it. You can work tirelessly for a promotion, but the decision depends on your boss, on company politics, on timing. You can pursue love, but the heart of another person is never yours to command. The more you obsess, the more frustrated you become. That is the invisible chain of attachment. Marcus himself faced this during the Antonine Plague, one of the darkest periods of his reign. Thousands died daily. He could not control the disease, or the despair, or the economy crumbling around him. Many emperors would have panicked, but Marcus turned inward. Instead of obsessing over what he could not change, he asked, "What can I do here and now?" His answer was simple but profound. He provided aid to the sick, ensured fair grain distribution, and recorded words of strength in his meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Rome survived not because Marcus controlled the plague, but because he controlled himself. Consider a modern example. Sarah, a young professional, spent months applying for jobs. Each rejection crushed her. She tied her self-worth to the outcome, getting that one offer. Eventually, her mentor told her, "Stop obsessing over the offer letter. Focus on showing up as the best candidate in each interview." She shifted her mindset. She detached. She stopped refreshing her inbox every 5 minutes and invested instead in preparing calmly and building her skills. Within 2 months, she received not one, but 3 offers. Her transformation wasn't luck. It was the freedom that came when she released her grip on results. The Stoics understood this long before psychology gave it language. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." Behavioral science now calls this the locus of control. People with an internal locus, those who focus on their own actions, score 40% higher in resilience than those who obsess over what they cannot control. So how do we practice detachment? Start small. Use the 5x5 rule. Ask yourself, will this outcome matter in 5 years? If not, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Build a journaling ritual. Each evening, write 2 lists, what I controlled today and what I did not. Over time, this rewires your focus from results to effort. And try visualization. Before bed, imagine planting a seed. You water it, you give it sunlight, but you cannot force it to sprout tomorrow. This image trains the mind to honor process and release timeline. Marcus reminds us again, do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors. Be content with what you are and wish nothing more. Outcome obsession is speculation about what is not real. True contentment is presence. So if you feel crushed by when will it happen, or what if I fail, remember the butterfly. You cannot force it, but you can open your palm. Detach, breathe, and act with calm intention. Because when you release the outcome, you reclaim your peace. And that brings us to the next step. Once you've detached, how do you build the inner fortress to sustain that calm? That's where Marcus's second teaching comes in, mastering your mindset. Stay with me. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes at your face, thunder cracks above you. You cannot control the storm, but you can control your breath, your stance, your calm. That is the essence of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Think about that. Not your wealth, not your circumstances, not the storms of life, but the thoughts you choose to nurture. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Master it, and you master your world. Modern neuroscience confirms what Marcus intuited. Studies from the National Science Foundation suggest the average person has 60,000 thoughts per day. And astonishingly, 80% of them are negative, repetitive, or fear-driven. Imagine carrying 48,000 negative thoughts every day. How could anyone feel at peace? This is why the Stoics warned us. Guard your mind as carefully as a fortress. Marcus said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you let your thoughts run wild, your life feels chaotic. But when you train your mind, life transforms. There is a story of Marcus Aurelius presiding over the gladiatorial games. The crowd roared with bloodlust, demanding spectacle. But Marcus sat quietly, unmoved. He once wrote, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do. Only what you do. Where others were swept away by noise, Marcus focused inward. He couldn't silence the crowd, but he could silence his mind. And in that silence lay his strength. Consider Rachel, a modern example, an overwhelmed corporate worker. Her days were filled with deadlines, meetings, and endless emails. She lived in fight-or-flight mode, anxious, scattered, exhausted. Then she discovered Stoicism. Each morning before touching her phone, she wrote a single affirmation. Today I will not worry about things beyond my control. Over weeks, her mind shifted. Instead of reacting with panic, she responded with calm. Her team noticed. Her boss noticed. Within a year, she was promoted, not because she worked harder, but because she thought differently. Science echoes this truth. Harvard researchers studying resilience found that people who practice cognitive reframing, shifting negative thoughts into neutral or positive interpretations, were 50% more likely to stay emotionally stable during crises. Marcus anticipated this centuries ago. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Why does mindset mastery matter? Stress reduction. Stoic practices like reframing and mindfulness significantly reduce stress hormones. Creativity. Calm minds see solutions. A Stanford study showed calm focus improves problem solving by 45% compared to anxious states. Leadership and relationships. People gravitate to those who radiate composure. Desperation pushes people away. Calmness draws them near. Marcus didn't just preach this. He lived it. As Emperor of Rome, facing wars, betrayal, and plagues, while keeping his composure through disciplined thought. The Stoics captured it in timeless lines. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views which he takes of them. Epictetus. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Each points to the same truth. Reality isn't what happens. It's how you interpret what happens. So how do we master our thoughts? Try this. The Thought Journal. Each morning, write down 3 thoughts dominating your mind. Ask, is this true? Is it useful? Can I reframe it? The Mindfulness. Minute, 60 seconds, eyes closed, focus on breathing. Watch your thoughts pass like clouds, don't chase them. The Stoic reframing exercise, when something stressful happens, immediately ask, what is within my control here? This rewires panic into purpose. Even Olympians use this. Michael Phelps, the most decorated athlete in history, practiced visualization for every scenario. Winning, losing, even his goggles breaking. When his goggles did fill with water in Beijing, he swam calmly by counting strokes. His mindset, not his muscles, secured his gold medal. Just as Marcus said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. So ask yourself, are you mastering your thoughts, or are your thoughts mastering you? Your mind is not just a mirror. It is a compass. Guard it, train it, and it will guide you toward peace and power. And once you've built that inner fortress, there's another Stoic lesson you must embrace: patience. Because even with the right mindset, rushing can destroy what should be nurtured. Which brings us to section 3, trust in timing. Have you ever planted a seed and felt impatient, checking every day to see if it sprouted? The truth is, no matter how much you watch, no matter how much you water, the seed will only grow in its own season. Life works the same way. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This wasn't just philosophy, it was reality. The greatest achievements, the deepest relationships, the most profound growth, none of these can be rushed. Yet we live in an age of instant gratification, where one click delivers food, entertainment, even temporary happiness. But some of life's treasures take years, even decades to unfold. The Stoics knew this. They called it trusting in nature's timing. Our brains, however, are wired for urgency. Neuroscientists call it the present bias, the tendency to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue long-term gains. That's why diets collapse in a week, businesses are abandoned after one setback, or relationships fail when growth feels slow. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. Time is like a river, made up of events that happen in a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place. In other words, you cannot hold time, you cannot rush it, you can only flow with it. Marcus himself lived this truth. During brutal wars on Rome's northern borders, his generals urged him to strike fast. But Marcus waited. He strengthened supply lines, studied the enemy, prepared his men for winter. It took years, but patience saved Rome from collapse. Rushing would have destroyed the empire. Patience wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. And this wisdom echoes in our own time. Take Sophie. She wanted success fast, sent countless resumes, worked extra hours, pushed relentlessly, but nothing clicked. Finally, she stepped back. She invested in her skills, built genuine relationships, and trusted the process. 2 years later, she landed her dream job through a connection she had made in that quiet season of growth. Just as Seneca wrote, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. Everything comes in its season, if we allow it." Modern science supports this. Research in developmental psychology shows that people with a long-term orientation, those who value patience and growth over instant gratification, report higher life satisfaction and resilience. You've heard of the Stanford marshmallow test. The children who resisted eating one marshmallow immediately to wait for two later grew up with higher scores, better health, stronger careers. The ability to trust timing predicts success. So how can we train patience? Practice the seed ritual. Every time impatience rises, visualize planting a seed. Remind yourself, my job is to water. Nature decides when it blooms. Try timeline journaling. Write 3 goals, then note what I can control today and what will unfold in its time. And use the Stoic pause. Before making a rushed decision, wait 24 hours. Patience reveals clarity that speed often hides. Marcus said, "Everything that happens, happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so." Epictetus, "No great thing is created suddenly." Seneca, "Time heals what reason cannot." Each reminds us that life unfolds not on our schedule, but on its own. So next time you feel frustrated, waiting for love, for career, for success or healing, remember the oak tree. It takes 20 years to mature, but its strength lasts centuries. Rushing only damages the roots. Trust that your timing is coming. Keep preparing, keep showing up, keep watering your seeds, and life will bloom when it's ready. Patience is not passive, it's active faith. And when you trust in timing, you move through life with less anxiety and more peace. But patience alone is not enough. Once we've learned to trust time, the Stoics challenge us to examine why we act. Are we moving with purpose or out of desperation? That's the next step. Act with purpose, not desperation. Picture this. Two men stand at the starting line of a marathon. One is calm, focused, breathing steadily, knowing the race will take hours. The other is frantic, looking around nervously, sprinting forward before the gun even fires. Who will last longer? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "First tell yourself what kind of person you want to be, then do what you have to do." Purpose is that inner compass. Desperation is running blind. And the difference between the two can determine whether you burn out or build a life of meaning. Desperation is fueled by fear. Fear of missing out, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. Psychologists call it the scarcity mindset. Studies show that when people feel scarcity, whether of money, time, or opportunities, their IQ temporarily drops by 13 points. That's the same as losing a full night of sleep. In other words, desperation literally makes you think less clearly. And when we act from desperation, we rush decisions, damage relationships, chase shortcuts. We send 50 job applications without reflection. We buy things we don't need. We cling to people who don't value us. And ironically, desperation repels the very success we crave. Marcus Aurelius knew this. As emperor, he faced senators who opposed him, generals who betrayed him, even friends who disappointed him. It would have been easy to act out of desperation, lash out, punish harshly, force loyalty. But Marcus understood. Fear-driven action destroys trust. Instead, he reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. His clarity allowed him to rule with steadiness. His purpose was justice, not personal gain. That's why history remembers him not just as a ruler, but as the philosopher king. We see the same truth today. Jack, a mid-level manager, was desperate to climb the corporate ladder. He networked aggressively, interrupted meetings to show off, pushed endlessly for promotions. But people sensed his energy. It felt needy, not confident. Opportunities slipped away. After a setback, Jack turned to Stoicism. He redefined his purpose, to become a leader who serves with integrity. From that day forward, he focused less on chasing titles, more on building his team, mentoring juniors, delivering value. Within 2 years, leadership came naturally, because he acted with purpose, not panic. Science confirms this power. Research from the University of Michigan found that people with a clear sense of purpose live, on average, 7 years longer. Purpose reduces stress, strengthens resilience, even lowers the risk of heart disease. Another study from Harvard Business Review showed that companies led by purpose-driven leaders have higher employee engagement and 42% stronger performance than those driven by short-term desperation. Purpose isn't just philosophy, it's measurable power. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." And Seneca warned, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Without purpose, we drift. With purpose, even storms propel us forward. So how do we act with purpose? Start by defining your North Star. Write down, who do I want to be? Not what you want to have, but who you want to become. Clarity of identity guides your actions. Then use the 3-filter rule. Is this right? Is this aligned with my values? Is this necessary? If the answer is no, don't do it, and practice slowing down. When urgency rises, take 3 deep breaths before you act. Desperation pushes speed. Purpose allows patience. Think of the archer. If he shoots in desperation, trembling with fear, the arrow misses. But if he aims with calm purpose, steady hands, steady breath, the arrow flies true. Epictetus used this metaphor often. The archer does not control the target, only his aim. Your aim is your purpose. The result will follow. At the end of the day, desperation burns energy but leaves emptiness. Purpose moves slowly, but it builds legacies. So ask yourself, are you chasing blindly or walking with intention? And the next time you feel the urge to act out of panic, remember Marcus's wisdom. Define who you want to be, then act accordingly. Which brings us to the next Stoic lesson. Let go of control. Because once you've set your purpose, the greatest strength is knowing what belongs to you and what doesn't. Imagine standing on the shore, trying to command the waves to stop. You shout, you wave your arms, you beg, but the tide keeps rising, unstoppable. This is what life feels like when we try to control everything. We waste energy fighting what cannot be changed instead of learning to ride the current. Epictetus gave us the clearest advice. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. The more you grasp at control, the more you lose your freedom. But when you release it, peace floods in. Why do we crave control? Psychologists say humans hunger for certainty because our brains hate ambiguity. The amygdala, our fear center, lights up when faced with the unknown, pushing us to control every variable. But here's the paradox. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more anxious and exhausted we become. Research proves it. 72% of adults report stress about things outside their control. Politics, the economy, other people's opinions. And yet, none of these can be mastered by force. Marcus Aurelius faced this head-on. When the Antonine Plague struck Rome, he couldn't control the disease nor the fear of the people. But instead of collapsing under helplessness, he wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He focused on what he could control: relief efforts, grain distribution, justice in law. He released the rest. Rome endured not because Marcus controlled the plague, but because he controlled himself. Consider Anna, a young professional today. She was paralyzed by anxiety, constantly worrying about her career, her relationships, what others thought of her. The harder she tried to control outcomes, the worse her fear became, until a mentor introduced her to Stoicism. Anna learned to separate her circle of control from her circle of concern. She could not control her boss's mood, but she could control her own work ethic. She could not control her partner's feelings, but she could control her honesty and kindness. As she shifted her focus inward, her anxiety faded. Opportunities appeared naturally. She found peace not by controlling life, but by controlling herself. Modern psychology calls this the locus of control. Those with an internal locus, focusing on their own actions, report 40% less stress than those obsessed with externals. A study in health psychology found that people who accept uncertainty live with far greater emotional well-being than those who fight against it. The Stoics, centuries before, had already mapped this truth. Their wisdom is timeless. Epictetus. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Marcus Aurelius. Freedom is the recognition of what is necessary. Seneca. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Control is illusion. Peace begins when we stop fighting shadows. So how do we let go? Try the 2-column exercise. Write down your worries. Place them into within my control and beyond my control. Then consciously release the second column. Remember the 90-10 rule. 10% of life is what happens, 90% is how you respond. And close each day with reflection. Did I spend more energy on controlling others or on mastering myself? Think of the captain at sea. He cannot command the storm, the waves, or the wind. But he can steer the rudder, adjust the sails, guide the ship. The Stoic captain doesn't curse the storm, he masters the helm. So too with us. Control is not ruling the sea, it is mastering our own direction. The truth is simple. Control is an illusion. Choice is real. You cannot stop the tides, but you can learn to surf. You cannot silence what people say, but you can choose your response. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's gaining freedom. Because when you stop wasting energy on what isn't yours, you finally have power for what is. So the next time you catch yourself trying to control the uncontrollable, pause. Ask, is this truly mine to command? If not, release it. That's where freedom begins. And once you've let go of control, you open space for something greater, abundance. Because the Stoics remind us, Wealth is not in possession, but in perception. And that's where we'll go next in section 6. Embody the energy of abundance. Close your eyes and imagine this. You wake up tomorrow with nothing more than what you already have today. Your health, your relationships, your knowledge. Would you feel poor or would you feel rich? Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Abundance isn't about possessions, it's about perception. When you live as though you already have enough, life begins to mirror that energy back to you. Psychologists distinguish between two mindsets, scarcity and abundance. Scarcity makes you believe there is never enough. Time, money, love. It breeds anxiety, jealousy, and fear. Abundance allows you to see possibilities, gratitude, and opportunities. Research by Dr. Stephen Covey found that people with an abundance mindset collaborate more, feel less stress, and achieve greater long-term success. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Marcus himself embodied this truth. As emperor, he had access to limitless wealth, yet he chose simplicity, plain bread and olives, a soldier's cot during campaigns. He wrote, wealth is not having more, but needing less. By living this way, he remained unshaken by luxury or loss. His abundance was not in treasures, but in inner freedom. We see the same lesson today. James was a successful executive, yet felt perpetually empty. He chased raises, recognition, and more possessions. But the more he gained, the less satisfied he became. After a health scare, he began writing a daily gratitude list. At first it felt silly. My wife's laughter, morning sunlight. But after 30 days, something shifted. He realized abundance wasn't waiting in the future. It was already around him. Within a year, not only was he happier, but his business grew. Because people were drawn to his calm and generous energy. Abundance attracts abundance. Science confirms this. A 2003 study by Emmons and McCullough found that people who kept gratitude journals experienced 25% higher happiness levels and fewer health complaints than those who focused on problems. Neuroscience shows that practicing gratitude rewires the brain's dopamine system, increasing satisfaction and reducing anxiety. Abundance isn't just spiritual, it's biological. The Stoics put it best. Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Epictetus, if you want to be rich, do not add to your money but subtract from your desire. Seneca, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. So how do we live this? Start with a daily gratitude practice. Each morning, write 3 things you already have that bring joy. Train your mind to see sufficiency, not lack. Shift your language. Replace I need with I choose. Instead of I need success, say I choose growth. Language shapes mindset. Finally, act as if. For 1 week, live as if you already had abundance. Walk with confidence, give compliments freely, share without fear. Watch how the world mirrors this energy back to you. Picture 2 cups. One is always half empty. No matter how much you pour in, it feels lacking. The other is always half full. Every drop feels like a gift. The Stoic lives with the second cup. Abundance is not the water in the cup, but the way you see it. When you embody abundance, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop asking, when will I have enough, and start realizing, I already have more than I need. Abundance frees you from comparison, envy, and endless striving. It roots you in gratitude, in presence, in peace. So the next time you feel lack, remind yourself, abundance isn't out there, it's in here. Practice gratitude, shift your mindset, and you'll see that life has already given you more than enough. And when you live in abundance, you gain the courage for the final step, to take aligned action and then let go. Which brings us to section 7. Take aligned action and release the outcome. Think about the last time you worked tirelessly for something, a job, a relationship, a project. You pushed, you stressed, you obsessed over the outcome. And yet, the harder you clung to it, the further away it seemed. Seneca once said, Effort and patience achieve more than force and anxiety. The Stoics remind us it is not endless struggle that brings results, but purposeful action followed by release. Do the work, then step back. Plant the seed, then trust the soil. Psychologists call this the paradox of control. The more you try to force the timing and the outcome, the more resistance you create. Stress narrows your perspective, triggers fight or flight, and decreases problem-solving ability by nearly 30%, according to research from Stanford. When you act with force, you close doors. When you act with aligned purpose and then release, you open them. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth on the battlefield. He prepared with discipline, strategy, and training. But once the battle began, he knew he could not control every arrow, every storm, every soldier's fate. He reminded himself, in every action ask, is this within my control? If yes, do it with excellence. If no, let it go. This mindset allowed him to lead with clarity, acting fully, then releasing attachment to the outcome. We see the same lesson today. Grace, a small business owner, worked day and night, chasing every client, stressing over every rejection. The more desperate she became, the fewer opportunities arrived. Her mentor told her, do the right work, then let go of the rest. Grace shifted. She refined her product, served her customers with love, and stopped obsessing over when success would come. Within months, new clients appeared naturally, drawn not by desperation, but by her calm confidence. Science backs this. Harvard Medical School found that people who practice mindfulness and non-attachment report 33% lower stress and greater resilience. A study in Frontiers in Psychology showed that letting go of outcome-focused thinking boosts creativity and problem-solving by 40%. The Stoics had already discovered this. Freedom comes from focusing only on effort, never on result. Their wisdom is clear. Marcus, do every act of your life as though it were your last. Epictetus, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Seneca, he suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. So how do we live this? Begin each day with intention. Write, today I will act with integrity and release the outcome. Apply the 80-20 rule. Find the 20% of actions that drive 80% of results and do those with excellence. Each evening, practice release. Write down one fear, one expectation, and say, I release this. Tomorrow is another day. Think of the farmer. He tills the soil, plants the seed, waters the ground, but he does not scream at the earth to grow faster. His role is action, nature's role is timing. So it is with us. Our responsibility is effort. Life's responsibility is harvest. True power is paradoxical. It is both discipline and surrender. Take aligned action, do your work with clarity and purpose, then let go. Trust that life will unfold as it should. Marcus Aurelius wrote, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. So, do the work, release the outcome, trust the process. That is the final Stoic secret to living with peace, with power, and with purpose. If this journey through Stoic wisdom has inspired you, detach from outcome, master your mind, trust timing, act with purpose, let go of control, embody abundance, and finally, take aligned action. Then release, carry these lessons forward. Like Marcus Aurelius, write your own meditations. Live each day with calm intention. And remember, relax, and life will give you everything you truly need. Marcus Aurelius lived as proof that you can lead with wisdom, patience, and calm, and life itself will reward you. If this Stoic lesson inspired you, give this video a like, leave a comment saying thank you, Marcus, and subscribe to Making Life Better. Together, let's learn to live with strength and serenity.